call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting. We're going to start off with that. That's correct. It is Thursday, December 11th, 2025. It is 3:31 p.m. We'll start with roll call.
Here.
Director Hudson.
Here.
Director Jones.
Here.
Director Walsh.
Here. We have someone.
Director Talgis is not able to make it here today, so I will be conducting the meeting, so we have a quorum. Consideration of the agenda. Do we have any questions, concerns about anything at special meeting? Nope. Okay. So consideration of an executive session to discuss Running Iron Ranch and litigation related to the same, the subject matter pursuant to CRS section 246402-4B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions from the district's general counsel on the subject matter, and CRS section 246402-4EI to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and instructing negotiators with respect to the subject matter.
I move that we go into the session. Per that description.
Yeah. Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
You didn't last long.
I'll be back. We'll be back.
4:30, Candace, is I think when we're scheduled this.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all you're gonna do before 4:30 is this executive session?
Yep. All right. Is that Marcus or is that?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Couldn't be better. So the remainder of the executive session will constitute attorney-client privileged communications. You can turn the recording off at this time.
Okay, well, I would move that we exit the executive session.
And adjourn the special meeting.
Adjourn the special meeting. At which we received legal counsel, but at which no decisions were made.
Second. Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Take it away, Alex.
All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting for December the 11th, 2025. It is 4:35 p.m. We'll start off with roll call. Director Hudson.
Here.
Director Jones.
Here.
Director Walsh.
Here.
Director Talgis is not able to be with us today, so we're gonna have 4 out of 5 today. Consideration of the agenda. Anybody got any questions, concerns?
I like it.
Move to approve the agenda as it is.
I move to approve the agenda as it stands.
Second.
All right, any more discussion?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so public comment. We're gonna limit public comment to 3 minutes. Anyone have anything they would like to say? Mr. Young.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Carl Young. I live at 32 Holiday Avenue and I am a ratepayer. So I'm here tonight to talk about affordable housing. I mean, I don't understand why you're not supporting the Community Development Corporation and affordable housing. You have plenty of money to do that. You're ending 2025 with a $10 million reserve and you project to end 2026 with $8 million. You know, if you end 2026 with 8.1 million in surplus reserves, well above all bond and operating requirements, how can you say you can't afford $406,000 to support the workforce housing, which I believe most people believe we really need?
Mm-hmm. I appreciate your comment. I don't think we're going to do a whole discussion tonight on affordable housing. Definitely hearing what you're saying, and my phone number is up on the website. So,
I like to have things be transparent and to discuss things.
I think next month we're going to be. I believe next month we're going to be readdressing this issue because we had some changes on the agenda. So,
I also like.
That's a very complicated issue. We're a water and sewer district first, so.
Well, Okay, so your objection is philosophical, not financial.
No, I think it would be both. But again, I don't wanna, if any other board members
We
want
should
to.
have this conversation at the next meeting.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And I think too, that, I mean, I believe if you research the old meetings, I think everyone's made it very clear why they take the stance that they have. So, I just talking about being transparent, we all have been very transparent. When CDC, Peter and Habitat were here, we all made it very clear why we made the decisions we made. And if you have a specific question, then I'd love to hear it, but that's not a specific question.
Yes, it is. It's a specific question. You're ending 2026 with 8 million in reserves. Why can't you support affordable housing with less than,
Because we don't
4%?
believe it's in the best interest of our constituents in the way that we spend our money.
Thank you for that answer.
Awesome.
That
Very
money
good.
in the reserves is our revenue bond money, and it will go to pay for the Vista upgrades. We will
Okay.
not be ending this year or next year with significant amounts of reserves that have not already been
Well-
dedicated.
Okay, well, that's not what your budget says.
Yes, it does.
It
Happy
says-
to have someone explain it to you.
I've been through it. You have a 9-month, you say in there, you've got a 9-month reserve, right? That's at the kind of the introduction to the budget. And so,
We have a debt service reserves that we also have to maintain.
yes, then you're well above that with $8 million.
We will have someone speak with you about this. I think you're incorrect, sir.
Wow, okay, I look forward to it.
And I just want to be clear that my position is perhaps unorthodox, is that I find a lot of the financial arguments for and against genuine affordable housing, which I regard as 80% AMI and below, as to be kind of paper-based arguments. And that the actual costs and losses are monstered up. And that if you're, with some discretion, good workforce housing projects at 80% and below, and organizations dedicated to that price point, like Habitat for Humanity, I don't think it's any real world cost anyway, because the fees that are deferred are fees that we will not collect over the long run if we don't support that type of housing. So, but that's a different argument than the financial argument.
And the current resolution in place, which we might discuss tonight and or next month, does say 80% or less. And to my knowledge, CDC may have hit that 1 out of 10, not claiming that they were gonna hit it with all 10, from my understanding, when the board approved the initial. So when you say you're gonna do something and then you come back and you didn't do it, that kind of puts us all in a position that makes us answer to our ratepayers and things that we said we stood for.
And I'm sympathetic to that argument, and I believe Alex is very correct in calling that out, but I take a more kind of practical approach, which is this is development. And in the world of real estate developers, that call what you will, misestimate, is probably smaller than you get from most private developers that come before us. So I'm a little bit more indulgent than others, but I appreciate people who aren't, and that's fine.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, then we're going to continue.
I do have a comment on the line.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
This is Dylan Cottingham. I hope
Hi, Dylan.
that name doesn't become so familiar to be annoying. Hi, board. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to sit in front of public comment. I just had one question. I was wondering, I see that the Pagosa Area Water and Sewer District website has updated their employment opportunities recently, and I'm wondering if there is any insight that can be offered to the strategy that PAWSD is putting into staffing at this time.
The only thing we currently have on the website is a water treatment operator.
Yes, so right now, Dylan, we went ahead, we filled the district manager position. We have filled our controller position. We have moved our water supervisor up into our operations manager position. And we are currently looking for another water treatment operator. That is the only position currently that is open at the district.
Okay, so there was some internal promotions within the recent past.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Will there be public opportunities in the future?
For which positions?
Um,
General, or what's your question?
Technical positions, I guess I could say. I just hear that you guys backfilled positions, but a posting never came out. So I'm wondering if there will be opportunities in the future in some of your higher level positions for public submission for bid.
Yes, if we need to fill those positions, they will certainly go out to the public to fill those positions.
And I think I've said,
Okay.
you know, whether, at what point the district needs an in-house engineer. If I don't know what that is, you know, obviously I'm gonna, being an engineering dummy, I'm gonna defer to administration on that, but when that decision is made, I'm certain you'll get a call. And say if you're interested, given your bona fides.
Appreciate that, Mr. Walsh.
All right, any other comment?
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, hearing none, we're gonna move to agenda item number 5, approval of minutes. Everyone have a chance to take a look at the minutes. This is the 9/11, 9/29, 10/9 special and regular meetings, and the 10/15 special meeting. Any comments, questions?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes for 9/11, 9/29 special meeting, 10/9 special meeting, 10/9 regular meeting, and 10/15 special meeting as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and
We wanted to move up, manager's talking points.
okay, and I'm guessing we don't need public comment again.
Right.
Okay, okay, so we're gonna skip down to manager's talking points number 9, and
Yeah. So I wanted to update the board on the Astera leak detection program. We have completed that for 2025. We had 3 more sites to investigate the last time that we have met. We have dug up all 3 of those sites with no water. I think there may be something going on, but until it surfaces or starts to show any road condition issues, we can't do exploratory surgery in the asphalt. But we did end up repairing 14 service leaks, 1 water main leak in the project, and more importantly, like we had discussed last meeting, we did find that some of our water meters were under registering at low flow, under a 1/4 GPM. Right now, I'm still working on that program. We met with the flow test company that's up in Denver, and we're getting a schedule built to start sending meters off to them. We'll only do a few during the winter months. It's kind of difficult digging them up and putting jumpers in there. I don't want to cause more issues than we have. But come spring, we will get aggressive with that project, because I do feel like on the low flow side, on some of our older meters from 20 years and older, that we probably do have some under registering issues.
Any guess on what the GPM on the under registration is, or is it?
Well, it depends on the account.
Yeah.
So we would have to, case by case basis, we're starting to compile just the older meters.
Right.
Commercial stuff first, or big users, big irrigation users, go ahead and send those off, and then trickle down to our smaller users, or the residential.
But that's where we expect to find more under registration, and it's in the smaller users, right?
Yes, yeah, anything under 1/4 gallon, that's at least what we saw from the 10 meters that we had sent off last month.
Yeah, I wonder if, and I understand the practicalities on the winter, I wonder if the issue actually happens quite a bit in the winter where people can leave trickles flowing and fall, you know, it's freezing.
Yeah,
and, you know,
absolutely.
that all of that is not being registered.
Mhm.
That's quite a lot of water. So,
Yeah, and rolling into water meters, I briefed the board last month that we use a census SR2 meter. It's a mechanical meter with a body, a chamber, and then a register on top. Those meters are going to be discontinued. I spoke with the sales rep up at Main up in Denver, and they said come January 31st, they will not take any more full meter purchases, just parts. So in the past couple weeks, we've been meeting with manufacturers. There's 4 manufacturers total, and we've met with 3 of them so far. We have 1 more manufacturer to sit down with after the new year. I personally do not like any single manufacturer enough to pull the trigger on this right now. There's definitely pros and cons to each of the meters. In front of you here, this is the census meter that's going to replace the SR2s that we're using now. So traditionally, our meters would be full brass body with either a cast or a polycarbonate bottom to them, chamber and register head. These are all sealed units. So there's an ultrasonic registering mechanism inside here, which is just some sensors. The water flows past those sensors, sends a signal up to the register, and then the register sends a signal to our AMR system for us to get flow. The issues I have with this is it's just a single piece non-repair. This is about a $400 meter. And if the register goes bad, any of the electronics inside, or we have any kind of freezing issues, it's a throwaway. All 3 of the manufacturers that I've met with have a similar style meter like this. I am looking more for something that we can rebuild. The other thing that I'm concerned with, the census rep left all 3 of these meters with us. We're going to freeze one of these. I want to see, traditionally, a mechanical meter, if they freeze up, will blow out the bottom of the meter, not causing any other damage. We can go ahead and put a new bottom on it. They're about $11 a piece.
That's this little.
That's that right there, yeah. If this meter doesn't break, I'm concerned the setter that it sits in would be the first piece to compromise. So then we're picking up the entire pit. That's why I'm taking extensive consideration before I go ahead and make the decision to move with another manufacturer. We also have another challenge with it. The meters, the flow registers through it, goes to the register, and then goes to our AMR system. The flyer flies on the poles, comes back to the office. Right now, all 3 of those manufacturers do work with our existing AMR system, but we do not know how long. It's a different company. Center has our AMR system, and then these meter manufacturers are different. I'm also concerned that we go ahead and make the decision to go with meter X. We're good for a year, 2 years. We come back, and one of the 2 companies says we have a software conflict. Now you have to replace your entire AMR system. So that's also something that I'll be looking at when we start making our decision to move to another manufacturer. One of the 3 that we have met with does offer the meter, and the AMR is built into it. So that is a positive, especially for us, to where it can run without our AMR, which could help us with cost. Or I can just replace some meters if we went with this particular manufacturer and we want to try out, say, a 500 meters, we can put those meters into our system and they will talk with our existing system. And we don't run the risk of software conflict. So more to come on our next meeting. By the time we meet again, I will have met with the last manufacturer, and we as staff will sit down and score each of the different meters and see which way we want to go. But my plan right now, we have plenty of inventory of the SR2s in a fleet meter, and I have plenty of parts on the shelf. We are going to make an order for what we typically would order at the first of the year this month, and some extra parts to give us a little bit more time to think about this. The nice thing about that, as I send meters off for the flow testing, if they do come back and need replacement or work, I will just rebuild the ones that we have, put them back into the system.
The weakness of going with their own AMI communication system is the new ones run off cellular. Which is great when you have great cellular everywhere, but we have a lot of areas that have poor cellular. That's the issue of why we can't just dump the Fireflies and go with the new communications systems that they come with.
Yeah, not only the cost, but our Zener system runs at 99 to 100% all of the time. I don't want to incur the cost of the meters on top of the AMR system all at once. The other thing that we're looking at, some of the other manufacturers will run a composite body. Yeah. I am concerned that during installation, especially in February at 2 o'clock in the morning, that these threads get stripped. As soon as we strip one of these, this entire meter is junk.
You're connected to brass, right?
We're connected to brass. Yeah. I feel better about it freezing and breaking over that meter, but the thread issue is more of a problem. So what you're actually looking at here is that just completely
You gotta really have the feel for it. Well, that gets expensive to play. Never have the feel for them, it's crazy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying, it's not a problem.
Yeah, so I brought in our distribution supervisor, operations manager, and our technicians are sitting in on all of these meetings with these meter reps. So I can get the best possible information and feedback from staff before we go ahead and move forward.
Awesome. I'm guessing that the ones that communicate themselves are gonna be more expensive units.
They're a couple $100 more, and one of the drawbacks to that, we would have to pilot test them. All of that communication is built on top of this register, which is several feet under the ground, where our Firefly system is several feet above the ground. And we struggle with communication up in the mountains.
Now, if water meters are moving towards not having some physical registration, this is a generic dummy question, in the stream, is that indicating that something like wastewater meters might be in the offing in the next 10, 20 years? If they can measure flow with sensors?
Yeah, we're already, on the wastewater side, most of those meters are a mag meter anyway, so they're all censored.
So I mean, you could take the guessing at some point out of, using proxies and noisy proxies for how much, and you could actually just measure.
Yeah, they're still problematic because of solids content and
Right.
they're like clog and every time there's a joint, it collects, it collects a little bit of solid and the next one collects a little more, and they plug and stuff like that. So that the problem is with that is typically solids.
Okay.
Okay.
You're looking for y'all now.
You
Yeah.
can create that,
New latest and greatest.
it'd be your 6-digit.
Yes. The Vista wastewater upgrade is on schedule. Right now, the clarifier portion of the project is all built. This winter, they'll be working on the longer system, years inside, and the mechanical scraper. Anticipation for completion on that project is summer of 2026.
Also to your point, Glenn, with the waste, I think I know where you're coming out with the wastewater. We do use mag meters, for instance, the town that comes up uses mag meters.
Right.
But they require the pipe to be totally full.
Okay,
And
right,
so when we got our 4-inch line coming out there, you got a little trickle in there.
Right.
It's a little more difficult. So they typically measure those with ultrasonic, they shoot down on that, so it's just not nearly as accurate. It's, like I said, it's a lot of, something that's heavy, you know, have a full pipe, blast and stuff through. Sure.
Justin, do you want to go into the snowball update?
Sure, snowball's coming along. We've been running snowball since I think October 11th. That's where you guys downtown are getting your water from now. The old plant is gone. No remnants of it whatsoever. Basically what's going on out there right now is punch list items, correcting small issues. We're having a problem with the gas system, the first system in there, the dissolved air flotation system. There's some issues with that, to the point that we are holding up their final invoices and retainage till they get those resolved. Fortunately for us, the water is coming down from the mountains is so clean, we really don't need the dam. But we need to get that resolved before next spring, so that's where we're at with that. But it's moving along well. In this month, we should be receiving centrifuge materials, and they'll start installing that next month. And I really foresee that plant being completely finished and the contractor gone February, end of February, give or take.
how are the reservoirs?
Reservoir's good.
Yeah.
Snow, Hatcher's down 9 inches. Lake Pagos is back up. It's down 13 right now, but it'll fill naturally. And Stevens is down, I think, 8 feet. It's still really low because we use that to fill Pagosa back up. We're pulling in about 4 CFS from 4 Mile right now, and it's all going to Stevens right now. So we're raising that up. So we're looking good.
The CDOT project, PAWSD's involvement in the CDOT project for 2025 is complete. There's not going to be any more utility work this year. They're just doing their concrete asphalt the rest of the season. So fantastic news for us. This project has actually been very beneficial for the district. We were able to, as they were removing the road and doing excavation for the base, we went in and replaced all of our service lines. We got an actual physical look at all of our water mains. Everything that was dug up, we replaced, repaired, GPS'd. We put in several new isolation valves. That's extremely expensive to tear up an intersection right off the edge of 160. So for the district, we got a lot of benefit to not have to repave that highway, but be able to replace all of our assets. And we're going to continue to do that on the south side of the road when the project starts back up with utility work. It looks like sometime in March, it'll start getting warm enough where we can start that excavation. The Second Street intersection was our biggest challenge this year. We have our main feed coming from Snowball Water Treatment Plant through there. There's several large mains intersecting that feed all of town. We were able to put all new valving in there. So if we do have an issue, we're able to isolate that with all new equipment. The next year, come March, will be our last big challenge for that project. That's going to be the 5th and Lewis Street intersection. It's just another really busy intersection. We've got service lines, 4 water mains running through there. It's all old. We need to get it dug up and GPS so we can get depth pipe material and look at all the quality. good news for us, all of the actual mains that we dug up that weren't a part of the project already for replacement, we're in great shape. That is all I have for manager talking points.
I have, one, if I may.
Yeah.
The January meeting. If we were to approve the budget tonight and then, provide the proposed changes to the rate structure, in the notice to the paper tomorrow by noon, to go into the 18th edition of the Sun, that would, it requires a 30-day notice for any rate changes. So then we would need to move our January meeting to sometime past January 18th.
And that would be
Can
for
we
the,
look at our schedules so that because I also have to put in the notice when that meeting will occur.
I've got nothing past that. Yeah, anything booked out for January.
I might have to zoom in, because I've, established my travel zone here on that second Thursday.
Oh,
So,
okay,
but
I'm
it's-
sorry.
Oh, it's no big deal.
I'll keep that in mind in future meetings.
No, no.
When things are not too much.
Is
And
it
this is
something
for
you
the
can do in
notice.
February?
Yes, well, we can, but the builders and the people who are doing projects do get a little grumpy when we wait till.
We don't want grumpy builders.
And we've done, and realtors, that whole industry gets a little grumpy when we wait till February. So it would be best if we could do it at the 22nd, January 22nd or the 29th. Does either of those work better for you guys?
22nd sounds good.
22nd sounds good.
I could do the 29th. I can't do the 22nd, sorry.
29th sounds good.
Sorry to be that guy.
That's okay.
Yep, I may be back the 29th too, but I may have to zoom, I can't, I'm coming back right around there. So.
I think that I'll keep that in mind, Glenn, so that we can.
You really don't, zooming is no prize, so as long as,
You get.
yeah. You mean, you found me, you're so nice. You might be less obnoxious.
This is for because of the affordable housing surcharge being removed. Is that?
It's not only that, it's all,
It's all.
All the
Okay, it's all-
changes,
okay.
the CIFs are proposed to increase by 3%. Water monthly rate is proposed to be increased by 3% and wastewater proposed to be 7%.
I'm hoping, that's my only discussion point on the budget is.
10% is what we have budgeted for right now, but
But Aaron had commented that 7 should be fine.
But that's what I'm gonna ask. Other than that, every question. Even the Tabor stuff, I don't quite understand the Tabor. That all kind of resolved itself by just looking back at mill levies and how they move, and people have misconceptions that with Tabor, mill levies never go up, but they actually do. Tax credits are a little bit smaller, so that's all fine.
It is complicated, but Aaron will be here at 5:30. So that's why we moved
Oh.
this.
Aaron right here.
Oh, Aaron's here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
so thank you very much. I will make that change. January, Bruce, is 5 o'clock okay for that? 29th?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Is the budget the next item?
Yeah.
I got a show and tell.
Okay.
Or maybe a test. Maybe a test. Tell me what this is.
LiDAR.
No. That's $200,000. That's what the state's requiring us to do. So we're looking at a budget. That's what the state's requiring us to do. To remove, we have to put in this lanthanum chloride, which ironically is, I think it's the same name as Bill's rock band. To remove that much phosphorus from our wastewater.
That much.
$200,000 for 1.7 milliliters.
That's what that was.
That's
all
what, yeah,
phosphorus.
yeah.
You just spilled it?
Yeah. Billy, that's what's driving
That's not
this 7 or 10%
That's not the interest.
This was just water, but that's, it's just that little amount that's what's costing that much is. We just got that a couple days ago, which floored us. I think that's why we had a modification to the budget was because of. The cost of that and the stuff that we have put in the wastewater to get rid of phosphorus, which is a building block of the world, is toxic to fish and invertebrate. So I am completely confused with what the state is doing. We have put in toxic materials to get rid of non-toxic materials.
But over a year, that could be a whole plate full,
Could be,
you know?
yeah, that's daily, every day.
That's daily.
We pull out 1.7 milligrams
Yeah.
of phosphorus
Add up a month's worth, and we might actually have a teaspoon in there.
put in a material that's toxic to fish and vertebrates that we put down in the river.
All right.
That was depressing.
Yeah, I hope I'm not showing my frustration with all this.
Okay, so speaking to that, I'm gonna kind of jump a little bit on the summary sheet just to follow through with that. So the reduction in water and wastewater enterprise funds of 200,000, that was a direct result of us needing to increase for that chemical. So we kind of had to do some manipulation and offset that additional cost. So that is why you see that reduction there in water and wastewater enterprise funds. Okay, so otherwise I'm just gonna go through and kind of review the changes that were made to the budget since the last meeting. And so we did receive our final valuations from the county. As we suspected, from preliminary to final, it did not move very much at all. And I have the exact amounts if you guys would like to know that, but it was very little movement as we predicted. Per direction from the board at the last meeting, we did remove the affordable housing surcharge revenue from the 2026 budget. We did have a capital item for cybersecurity monitoring that was not able to be completed in 2025 that rolled to 2026. As the board requested at the last meeting, we have added in a line item to the capital projects of 303,000 for that Stevens Reservoir. The employee salaries were finalized as we kind of finished with some of the movement we had with some of the open positions and got those filled. As well as we did go ahead and remove the comptroller assistant position that was proposed. We did remove that from the 2026 budget as well. And then, so down below, it just kind of goes through the valuations that we received from the county and the changes that we saw within those from last year. I did speak to the assessor's office about District 1 and District 2 valuations and the reasoning behind those changes and why they were so different from each other. And the answer that I received is that they do their reevaluation on properties every 2 years. And in District 1, we had some properties that are now tax exempt that were not previously, so that's why we saw a reduction there. And in District 2, we had a large property go up in value significantly. And so that's why there's such an increase there. So that was the explanation I received from the assessor's office on those. So the final calculations for District 1 did result in a temporary general property tax credit, mill levy rate reduction credit. The Tabor calculation was the most restrictive and it allowed for 4.229 mils. The final calculations for District 2 also resulted in a temporary general property tax credit, mill levy rate reduction credit. The Tabor calculation was again the most restrictive and allowed for 1.302 mils. Otherwise, I have in the packet presented some of the documents that we would need to certify the evaluations from the county, and then just some other final documents that would need signatures. You guys have any
Well, I
questions?
was just gonna note that a lot of people tend to think that Tabor freezes the mill levy. If you take it in the form of temporary tax credits, it does protect, I think, it does protect very, very large increases, but it does permit very small increases when there's small increase in valuation, but an increase in inflation. So I mean, once again, I know I'm beating this horse. Our folks who pay our water and sanitation customers get a slight increase, and our water only folks get a nice break. So that's where my sympathy for the wastewater district comes from, is that every time we turn, the water only folks are treated very, very fairly, and the water and wastewater folks, in my opinion, are carrying an awful lot of the load in this district. No pun intended.
So I have a question. In the debt service fund, it says 0. And we do have some debt. So
Where-
is,
Where are you
I'm
looking?
looking at the page that's.
That was our geo bond that we paid
That
off.
estimated revenues are as follows: general fund at 2.8, and then
That's right.
debt service fund is 0, and then water, wastewater, or water enterprise is at 15.1.
That was the geo bond that we paid off.
But I mean, do we
We don't have any.
don't have a debt service fund anymore?
Well, no, because that was only for general fund debt, which is based on general obligation bonds, and we paid that off, and so that.
So this isn't revenue debt, this is just geo,
Yeah.
geo bond. Okay,
Geobond debt.
okay, that explains that.
So that was like $1 million decrease in taxes, but that goes unnoticed, or nobody says, hey, thanks, because
Yeah.
a lot of this is just slide another $1 million right into that million, you
Yeah.
know, but. So we do somethings right.
Erin, do you have anything to add to, Bill's question regarding debt service?
Yeah, I do. You guys are right on the money. It's no longer active. That debt has been retired. It's still there and could be reactivated in the future should we choose to do so, or if we have to finance something that requires that. So it is 0 and is just kind of been sitting on the sidelines.
So the fund will still be there, but it will be empty.
Right, and that's why we kept it in this to just represent that since it's not going away entirely, it could still be reactivated.
Questions, concerns for anybody?
So
I guess we're
I
moving
would
direct,
like-
we're in the budget discussion now, right?
So I would like to suggest to the board that for the water enterprise fund and the wastewater enterprise fund, there's a line there that says affordable housing waivers. And right now it's 0 in both of those funds. And I would like to put in as a placeholder waivers for the habitat projects, which they're trying to do 4 of them. And so that would be 36,908 for the water enterprise fund and 64,672 for the wastewater enterprise fund. To insert those numbers as placeholders, we haven't approved those waivers, but I think the board is going to want to support those 4 homes with waivers in the future. So if there's no objections to that, I'd like to insert those numbers into those lines.
Again, my only concern, again, is that this is going forward with the sense of the board, wanting to be able to have a much more targeted, affordable housing program, is I'm probably only gonna vote for classes of projects that to me don't happen without the waivers. So I don't see that there's any real loss that has to be budgeted for. And then if you put it in the budget, you have to pay for it somehow from some revenues. And then you'll keep accruing for Habitat all these debts, and for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, suddenly, everyone's trying to keep track of this $500,000 debt towards which we've eliminated the surcharge. If there's board sense that for projects like Habitat, which are focused at 50, 60, 70% AMI, we don't even recognize those waivers as loss, I don't think we have to even put it in the budget. That's my,
And we're going forward with a new rate study. I think in the future, I'd like to see the CIF piece addressed and some other things in that, but going forward this year, I tend to agree with Glenn, because if we're gonna do a new rate study, I don't see why we need to keep calculating it. We're kind of wing that, I guess, a little bit this year. Until the rate study's done, but I don't see that we need to put a placeholder in there. There's something that we haven't voted on yet. I think we have a general consensus, maybe private, but I don't see it as necessary, and I
think they should come next month and ask.
That's what I would like, and not to get too far into affordable housing, but given some information that I've research that I've done, I probably will be supporting Habitat this year. I would like to see Chris Mountain get developed, and us do as much as we can to ensure the future grant opportunities and make sure that we look really good to the state, and that we're doing the best that we can to move that project forward. So I am supportive in that manner.
So I talked to the town about how to do accounting for this. I said, what do you guys do when your sewer district gives a waiver? And April said, oh, the sewer district gets reimbursed by the town council. And so there actually is movement into the sewer district at the town level, but it comes from a separate entity. It's not from within the same district. And we don't have that mechanism here to reimburse our books for some money that disappeared. Seems like it disappeared. So yeah, I think if we just insert it there, and then we will figure out with our new comptroller a better way to do this bookkeeping in the coming year, maybe we can adjust that. But for now, I'd like to make a statement to Habitat that we are intending to listen carefully to their presentation. So I'm just.
Well, I think I'm giving a clear enough statement that if their units come in as they have always come in with their due diligence and their best efforts to hit new houses for people development, that would never take place. Now that we have our fees back when our fees were $4,000, you couldn't say that, but now that they're heading towards $30,000, but they could show up next week and be real confident they're going to get 3 votes and leave it at that and not complicate the budget, because
I think to Glenn's point, if you put it in as a specific physical number versus the on paper number that he's talking about always doesn't exist, then you're obligated to something. Well, as when you leave it and it is a donation or gift, it accrues differently in the budget. So I'm just saying that I'm obviously on board as well. And it was one of the ones I voted for, was Habitat. I think they do a great job. And I think that they fit the parameters that previous boards have actually set, that we do give, things to. So I just think to Glenn's point, it might convolute or complicate things in a negative way. It's the only reason I would say, I think they're gonna get it, but I don't feel like that might be the right course of action to make sure they have confidence that they're gonna get it.
Okay.
No, but before the horse stand.
and I'm very much with BJ. I think he made a very good point. Should this board then decide that they're really attracted by some workforce missing middle projects, that's not right now, but that head towards the 100 and 120 and 100, then you would have to put money in for that, because that those projects are more or less happening without our support. So, anyway.
Okay, well, sounds like nobody wants to do it. That's fine.
But I am in support of it, and I do think that does bring up a good point, that at some point, obviously not today, but I would like to revisit what the actual in place system is, the resolution is, and adjust it according to what we're feeling now versus going off of an unspoken thing that the community is looking for understanding in, and so are we.
Yeah, and you do have losses. Well, I regard them as largely, if not entirely, paper losses on the wastewater side. And you do have rather large balances on the water side that we're gonna have to make some decision about. You know, how do we handle this, you know, so. But that's all I can make next year.
Okay, so, no problem.
My own issue is I want to limit the wastewater increase to 7% and just make that work, just to establish some real good faith with our wastewater and our water/wastewater customers. That we're really trying to do everything we can to keep their increases for as low as we possibly can. Gonna have a rate study. And if it turns out we can't hold to that, then we'll claw whatever money we should have charged them back within the first couple of years.
Does that cause a problem with the current budget?
Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but changing the wastewater increase from 10% to 7% would require us to amend a little bit of the budget as presented, right?
Yeah, it would. We presented the budget with a 10% increase in water rate revenue, and that will affect. We'll have to adjust that line item, and then we would have to also test it for parity, make sure that we still meet our debt service coverage requirements.
Right, but I think our debt service coverages are pretty healthy. You know, our reserves can certainly take a $85,000 to $90,000.
Well, no, because of the removal of the affordable housing revenue and the addition of the 200,000 for the chemical, that was a part of why we had to reduce by 200,000 was to offset that. Our parity calc was brought down at that point to 1.25, which is our bottom line. We can't go any lower, and that is not something that is ideal. So in cutting that 200,000,
I recognize that, but then I also recognize that our wastewater customers and our wastewater/water customers are carrying a real burden. They're the ones that have seen 30%, 10 and 10, so 55% collectively. They're the ones who have seen their fees go up by 1,000%. While if water has been treated much more gently, new $44 million plan, mostly for water-only customers whose wastewater we heavily subsidize, and they're still there at 33333 because of what I regard as a very incomplete rate study. And we are ticketing $500,000 of general fund money, most of which is paid by wastewater and water/wastewater customers to the water district, whereas we could send 410,000 to the water district and 90,000 to the wastewater district, and then that would solve the issue for the debt service coverage.
Aaron, do you have thoughts on what Glenn had to say?
Well, the first thing I would say is that, you know, Cindy is correct that when we, you know, there were some, the movement that was made in the budget, the draft budget, did bring that down to 1.25. And we were able to, with a few other adjustments, bring it back up to 1.3. So there is a little bit of room for Glenn's idea. I would just say that, you know, as she mentioned, 1.25 is our bare minimum. That is in many of the covenants of our loans and bonds. And once we go below that, that violates those covenants. And we, you know, that exposes us to issues with our lenders. So we're the point I'd like to make is that we're very, very close to that at 1.3. And it does not allow a lot of room for error. If we, for whatever reason, something comes up next year, like we've had a few things come up this past year that we didn't budget for, like hydrants or things of that nature. We do not have a lot of room for things like that. So I would say, if we're going to make an adjustment to this revenue percentage increase, you know, I think we're going to need to figure out a way to offset that. Glenn, you've made a recommendation to perhaps move funds from the general fund to offset that. That's something that we could look at. But we have a lot of freedom with that in the year. And what I mean by that is we can see how we're going through the year and decide whether the general fund transfer is going to go to one fund or the other. to offset that. So that gives me a little bit of comfort if we're going to make an adjustment like that. So that, I guess that would be my 2 cents.
Very healthy general fund and general fund balance. And again, the water / wastewater and wastewater customers are going to be kicking in an extra $45,000 to $50,000 a year. And I just don't see why we just dedicate $500,000 to water. It seems to be a very indulged fund, especially since a lot of the costs on that side are being driven by service for water-only customers, whose wastewater the folks up here are expected to massively subsidize. So I just think if we can make 7% work, you know, if we get into the year and, you know, I mean, the margins are so small that, again, the hydrants came up, but of course, that was a water issue. No problem, $127,000 for, you know, I mean, there's just the, you know, the water district seems to be this favored child as far as I'm concerned, and has lots of latitude, and the wastewater district pays through the nose, and, you know.
We did make a fund transfer, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, to wastewater in 2024. And then we are definitely still looking at intending to make a transfer over to wastewater as well. That water fund transfer was to pay for a portion of CDOT ahead of time. And that was a decision that was made earlier this year.
Yeah, well, the CDOT is just for the amount of pipe we put in, it's very expensive, unfortunately. But you know, hopefully it's a once in 50-year opportunity to get that in there so we can.
Which again, though, is a reason to look at the folks being charged 3% and who have seen 3% increases over the last few years over the folks who have seen 55% increases. You know what I mean? So it's.
So if we can make the 7% work, Aaron, I think the RPR grant will hit wastewater next year, and that's roughly 199. So that gives us about a $200,000 fund transfer to wastewater if possible next year. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right. I mean, that the RPR is federal money. I'm sorry, state money, and so it is going to be paper restricted, and as is the general fund transfer. So we're going to need to balance that. You know, that'll restrict how much we can transfer a bit. I would, you know, if we're going to move the revenue figure down to 7%, I'm really using that 1.3 debt service coverage ratio as a bit of a fail-safe. I want to caution us against going below that, because it just puts us razor thin, in a razor thin position with our lenders, and I really don't want to go there. So I guess my thought would be, if we're going to make that change, I would like to test a few things to make sure. I would really love to stay at 1.3 if possible, but as close as possible if it's not quite there.
So I just wanted to ask Glenn if we can approve the budget as it's written now, based on the 10%, and at our rates when we set the fees next month, which is what I'm hearing, we're going to set the fees next month. By then we can know if Aaron has found some comfort, or our new controllers had able to find some comfort with a 7%. And we could. We can make that decision when we set the fees.
There's some cost shifting that's available. There are some assumptions about CIP growth that are available. There are a lot of moving parts that could be moved a bit to make the 7% happen. So, but I also think that you know, we're losing income in the surcharge, but that was income that was never put into the rate study. And if we recognize the paper losses as paper losses that we're writing off, then that's also a gain. It could potentially next year be worked in as a balance sheet gain to the district. But anyway, I'm just one vote, and I like all the changes that were made, and But I'm voting yes at 7 and I'm voting no above that, but that's fine if other folks want to vote for 10%.
What would be the staff's recommendation at this point now that there has been this request? Would that be something where you guys run numbers? And would you like a special meeting later so that, you know, like as far as next week? Because I know we need to approve the budget, obviously.
Well, we need to certify the mill levies by the 15th, so that has to happen. Well, it'd be really nice if that could happen tonight. And we could do a special meeting next week to approve the budget after Aaron has some time to work with Cindy and hopefully Jack on looking at all of that. And
Or we could approve it at 7% and then call a special meeting. If it's turned out that it's unworkable.
Oh, yeah,
We could revise it upward, yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron,
Yeah,
are we
I would, sorry, go ahead.
Are we able to approve the budget at 10%, but then when we look at the rates, and the numbers that we're going to actually approve for the rates, are we able to make a change and approve the wastewater at 7%? So approve the budget at 10%, but make a revision to that, rate structure at next month's meeting? Is that something that's even possible, or does it have to be in this budget?
It is, because the budget focuses on expenses. We have to name what expense level we're not going to go over. So there is, you know, we can vote on this budget, approve it as at 10%, and then we can manipulate, you know, we can vote and approve on 7% at the rate change meeting, put that into effect, and then adjust accordingly in other areas.
Then you can go forward with the notice and we can make the meeting, you know, maybe the 29th gives us more flexibility in that regard. So.
It does. I mean, it's going to require, you know, like I said, I really want to try to achieve that 1.3, but there's plenty of levers to pull, I think, to do that. You know, general fund transfer being one of them, and then we can look for other areas that we can scrape some of that back with. But
I find it possible.
that'd be. Go ahead.
If you look at audit 24, the budget 26, and the 40, 50, sometimes 60% increases in 10 pole line items, that we can't find enough between transfers and some savings to limit the increase to 7%. And I think our ratepayers would appreciate that. They'd have more confidence in the upcoming rate study that, you know, but.
Aaron, go ahead and continue.
I think my thought was just that I just want to try to achieve that 1.3 debt service coverage ratio. We've just had a few years of surprises that come up that I don't want to, you know, really put ourselves in a bad position. So, but you know, to Glenn's point, I think we're all going to collectively have to have a really hard look at some of the projects. You know, the debt service coverage ratio really is focused on operating expenses, not capital expenses. So that money is going to have to be carved out of operating expenses, and so it will be a project for us to figure out where those savings are going to come from. And another point that I would make is that it's focused on the operating expenses of both the water and the wastewater fund. So that gives us a little bit of latitude there as well.
What's your recommendation moving forward there?
I am okay. I am okay with adjusting to 7%. I'm okay with voting and approving this budget at 10%. And then if we choose to adjust to 7% at the rate change meeting next month, I'm okay with that, so long as in the meantime, we're able to find a solution to the difference.
You good with that, Glenn, or are you opposed to it?
Oh, no, I'm going to vote no, but I'm fine with being outvoted 3-1 on that. No, yeah. I think it's not an unreasonable approach, but I thoughts?
And am I explaining my position well enough? I'm saying that I'm okay with the 7%, Glenn. Did you understand that from what I said?
Yes, yes. I'm just not gonna vote for a budget that formally approves 10%. I understand the approach, and if that's regarded as being the more prudent approach, that's fine. I'm not,
I mean, so what you would be against, Aaron, then voting a 7% tonight, and then if we can't make that pencil out, adjusting it higher next time versus adjusting it lower.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that we could vote to approve the budget at 10% is that, you know, is more for timing, that we can get this done and we get our mill levy certified into the county by 10 a.m. on Monday. You know, that's more of the driver for me, is to try to get this thing done and meet the timing requirements that we have. And then at that meeting, if, you know, choose to vote 7%, then that's fine, and we'll adjust accordingly. We have the latitude to do that, even though we approve a budget at 10%.
Okay. Any more comments? Anybody else got anything?
I'm gonna leave it to them.
yeah.
I will move to approve the budget as presented.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
It passes. I would like to definitely see what we can do in the meantime to get that lower, and I definitely want to do that, but I see both sides' points.
You are the treasurer, Alex, so you have to make it happen.
You also need to vote to
Approve the mill levies.
approve the mill levies, please certify the mill levies, please.
All right, consideration of certification of the 2026 mill levies to the Archuleta County Treasurer.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any other business?
I apologize. I gotta run previous meeting.
Oh, you don't have any more business for the board?
I hope not. We can be done by the time you get to that door.
All right, any more business to be brought before the board?
Okay. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah.